Well, I lost my opening footage this morning, so now you're receiving some midday footage first thing. But I've gotten started on some stuff over here already. We had a very productive day yesterday. Hopefully today will turn out just as well. We've got that door and everything out of the way over there, and we got stuff planted. So I've got the garden and the rabbit hutch that are top priority, that are kind of chomping on me to get done within the next 3.5 weeks or so. So I slid over here and started on the rabbit hutch this morning. I know Mama's gonna be upset. This is her favorite project that she wants to work on, and she's not here. But she'll be happy that it's done either way. So, but you missed out on the crazy bee footage this morning. She was being the goofy kid she always is. These ladies are doing great. I seem to have some new layers in there, and they're really starting to pick up production since we had that nasty cold snap, and they're starting to kick back up and ramp up production. It's getting warm, so maybe I can quit buying eggs. If I got 8 hens, I shouldn't be buying eggs, right? Let's fire up over here on this rabbit hutch and see what we can get done. My plan here on these front 2 posts that are closest to me will be at an overall height at about 8 foot. And then the 2 posts in the back, round about 7 foot. That'll give me a drop of 1 foot over the span of them. They are set 8 foot apart and 10 foot wide. And then with the 10 foot wide, the roof is actually going to be 12 foot wide on the top, with 9 foot of cages underneath, 3 3-foot cages. So that's going to give plenty of overhang for roof to give them protection. And then I also wanted it excessively wide for the cages for future growth, as well as protection for them. I've got plans to be able to do a cover on the sides and back for winter and storms and things of that nature. But I wanted it to be high enough that the heat underneath the roof wasn't being trapped down on them. I didn't want the roof right on top of their cages. I wanted to make sure they had good ventilation and good shade. We've got them planted right underneath a couple of big hardwood trees here, and they're going to have ample shade from those right there. That was something that we looked at that was very important to us. But I think what I'm going to do is, once I frame the top up around this here, I'm probably actually going to frame from the roof line down to tie in a hanging place for the cages. So we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. I'm going to work on the first post here. I'm going to get a rough measurement on it from the ground to 7 foot, and then I'm going to pull it out of the hole, cut it off, and notch it to accept this 2x6. And then I'm going to go ahead and somewhat level it up and plant that post in the ground, and then attempt to hold the 2x6 across and get it level and get the other post marked so that I can do the same to it. And then I'll turn it around again and do that in the front. And then once I get the fronts planted and tied together, then I can just tie the sides together, and it won't be a big deal. All right? Easy. Anybody can do it by themselves. Well, that was easy, right? Pretty close where I wanted it. It is a rabbit house, and as you could imagine, it is what it is. But it's going to be just fine and dandy. There's no such thing as leveling up one of these cedar posts. There's too many irregularities in them. And of course that post has got a crook at the top of it too, so they are close, and they're close enough for me. I've got the 12-foot 2x6 treated on the back, and I'm fixing to do the same thing on the front 2 posts right here. except they'll be about a foot taller than the back. That way all the rain drains off the back. Maybe one day even catch that rain and create them a self-watering system. Food for thought for later. There's the front. Believe it or not, it's within an 1/8 inch on both sides, like it sits on these janky crooked posts. Sometimes God's just on your side and helps you out. That's all I can say. The angle should be slim. I accidentally cut one of these wrong. I cut the wrong 5-inch mark, so I ended up having to pull that one back out and cut another 5 inches off of it. So instead of 8 foot and 7 foot, it's 7 foot, 7 and 7 foot, which is fine. I still got 7 inches of fall over an 8 foot span. More than plenty to drain anything that's gonna get on top of there. Front and back. Now I gotta connect these sides and build a little framing in the center. I think what I'm gonna do, since the rest of the material that I have is all 8 foot, is I'll connect the ends, both of them here, and then I'll do one in the center since these are 12 foot long, and then I'll run my purlins this way, if you want to call them that. That way I can just screw my tin right on top of those and I don't have to run any kind of lads or anything on there. It's just a rabbit house. It's just a rabbit house. Poor and cheap. So far I've got about, I don't know, maybe $2 worth of screws in it. That ain't too bad, right? It's almost starting to look like a little bit of a structure. Now I'm going to tie this way every 2 foot in between those and in between these. Boy, that's hard to point in reverse like that. But yeah, 2 foot purlins that way and 2 foot purlins that way. That way when the tin lays on it this way, I got something to screw to going across. But it's definitely time for me to stop and eat a sandwich. So it's sad that took me all morning, but when you're working by yourself, it is what it is, right? We'll get these purlins tied on here after lunch. I have not received a phone call about my tin being ready yet, so as soon as I get that tin here in the next couple of days, I can pick it up and get it put on. Once I get these purlins on, I'm going to start working off of however I'm going to hang these cages from the ceiling in there. And then I've got the materials over here to start building the cages once I've got a place to stack the cages. Let's see how far I can get today. The vice grips that are hanging right there, those are a lifesaver. Anything like that or a clamp, when you're working alone with a board that you can't reach both ends on, you could always run a nail or a screw or something to set the other end on. Those were a little bit wider, so it was easier for me, and I could just clamp those in place, slide the board on that end, just let it rest there while I screwed the other end down, and then I can move over to the other end and take care of that. Little tricks like that are just things you have to figure out when you work alone. But there's that part anyway. The roof itself is an 8 by 12. And then I'm planning on 3 cages. And I may have said this earlier, at 3 foot apiece. So there'll be 9 foot worth of cages on the top row. And then my grow out cages will fall right below them for another 3 cages. And then we'll have some grow out tractors and stuff. And I've got some other plans for some chutes to come off the back. And we'll get into that later because that's not today. Now remember, I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants and don't really have a plan here. I've got an idea. We're just going to see if it's going to work. This is the beginning of the basics of the frame. That way I can hang it from the ceiling. I don't have anything structurally on the ground that I got to worry about blowing over or animals knocking over or anything like that. This way it's tied in. I feel like it'll be a little bit more sturdy. So now I just need to replicate over here on this side what I just did over there on that side. Now then, it's almost starting to look like something. I'm not real sure what that is, but it looks like something. Yeah, I've got these 6 drop downs here that we'll tie to, and that'll give me a way to make a box around the center and around the bottom and tie everything in. That's going to keep it off the ground like I want. I'm tired. But I think we can make something out of this, and we can make it pretty nice for them. We'll be able to set up a nice watering system in here, probably PVC and nipples, so that I can just fill it and clean it weekly or bi-weekly or what have you. These front ones look like they're leaning because they're tied to that rafter, which is at an angle a little bit, but when it gets boxed together, they'll get pulled in and they'll be fine. Everything will be nice and square and level, and I hope. I'm going to attempt to make my way around it at least once and perhaps twice, and then I'll probably end up ripping some 2-bys down to make the lip for the cage itself to actually sit on. And I don't want much wood for it to sit on because of the urine and stuff like that. It gets funky. But let's see how far I can get. another very productive day. I ran out of lumber on the last board. Just my luck. But I've got the stuff to build the first 3 cages. More than likely that will be tomorrow, and I'm sure that won't take all day long. Hopefully I get the call soon about the roof, and I will try to arrange something with the gentleman that I got this lumber from. This was the rough cut green lumber, and I got chickens running everywhere. This was the rough cut green lumber that I got for $3 a piece on the 2x4/8, which blows away the $9 a piece at Lowe's right now. So I'll try to get something lined up with him where I can pick up another load of these from him and grab my roofing material, hopefully at the same time when I make my trip, because I don't like going to town. And if I go, I want to take care of everything that's on my list. But one short here, I've got some smaller stuff that I can use for the rip down pieces for the cages that'll actually sit on those, and get this roof on here, and we're close. We're super close to being ready for rabbits, and I'm tickled. I know Miss Angela will be tickled. So that's all that matters, as long as she's happy. And I guess she'll be disappointed she didn't get to help, but it is what it is, guys. So thanks for tuning in. Welcome to all the new subscribers, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.